Okay, so last time I've discussed the parang introduction to the nutrients natin. So alam na natin yung mga anim na mga nutrients and some of the basic na parang like for example chemical structure nila and at the same time yung function nila. So I will reiterate again those mga nutrients na inintroduce ko last face-to-face discussion natin. And then um, for this, I will highlight kung paano ba nadadigest, paano ba na absorb yung ating mga nutrients. So again, as a review, we have six na nutrients. So you have your water, you have your protein, carbohydrates, you have your lipids, and then yung vitamins and minerals. So those are your um, six important nutrients or six nutrients na kailangan ng isang animal in order to maintain its life, in order to be productive. Okay? So first again, will be your water. So it is required in the largest amount by animals. So you compare it with like for example vitamins that is only a minimal amount, micro kumbaga yung amount na kailangan when it comes to vitamins. For water, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, it is anong tawag nito? In liters. So talagang marami yung kailangan. So mamaya may papakita ko kung bakit or ano ba yung function ng water kung bakit kailangan. So tulad ng sinabi ko noon, it is often overlooked. Yung water, it is often overlooked. Um, despite it's important. Kahit, kasi like for example, you have experience na, I know na you have experience na when it comes to diet formulation, kasi yun yung una nating diniscuss. So alam ninyo na hindi included or hindi natin ini-include yung tubig doon sa computation natin ng mga feed formulation. Pero again, it is readily available kasi it is readily accessible. So, parang separate siya na binibigay mo doon sa animal. So, it is often overlooked. Pero again, it is important. So, bakit ba? Bakit ba siya important? Basically, it is involved in every physiological function that you can think of. Kasi nga, first, it is the universal solvent. So, kailangan ito ng lahat ng mga chemical reactions natin as well as when it comes to transportation ng mga nutrients or yung pag-transport ng waste natin out palabas sa body. It is also used for thermoregulation in order to maintain yung comfortable na parang temperature doon sa body ng animal. So this is done by sweating or panting which involves water. Then aside from that, yung structure ng cell ninyo, yeah, may role yung water. It maintains yung turgidity or um, yung parang structure or yung parang shape ng cell ninyo. That is because of our water or mayroong role yung water. And then aside from that, since we're talking about animal nutrition, it is required in digestion, in absorption, and in excretion. So kung makikita pa lang dito sa slide na ito, madami ng function yung water. It involves in every physiological function. So kung makikita, itong table na ito, laging tatandaan, when it comes to water, it decreases with age. And then it increases with lean body mass. Basically, there's an inverse relationship of the percentage of water and then the age. Okay? So, ito yung water, ito yung age. Habang tumataas yung age, bumababa naman yung water. Okay? Yung water content doon sa body. So, kung makikita dito sa table, like for example sa swine, at embryo, makikita na there is oh, nasa 95% yung percent body water. Pero as it ages, at birth, sa 30 days old, bumababa yung percent body water. So, yun yung laging tatandaan when it comes to water. It decreases as the age of the animal increases. So, merong inverse relationship. So, when it comes to the requirement naman, and intake, it varies per species. So, um, almost parang common sense na rin naman. Kung mas malaki yung animal or mas malaki yung species na species ng animal, mas kailangan niya ng mas madaming tubig compared dun sa mas maliit. So, it varies with the species. So, iba yung um, water requirement ng isang chicken compared to that of the swine, compared to that of the cattle, as well as the age. So, magkaiba din. And then for the dry matter intake, kung mas madami yung intake mo ng dry matter, usually kailangan na mas madami din yung tubig na iinumin ng isang animal. Then, environmental temperature can also have an effect. Basically, parang sa atin din, if naiinitan tayo, then mas mas nauuhaw kumbaga. And then lastly, and I think it's one of the most important factor that you need to consider is yung production stage. So, if it is lactating, if it is growing, magkakaiba pa yung kailangan na tubig ng mga to. So, like for example, ito. Yan. So, there's this estimate on how much water yung kailangan ng isang animal. Um, Depende doon sa species and then depende doon sa production stage. So like for example, if it is lactating for nasaw na baboy, 14 liters per day. So ganun dapat kadami yung kailangan mong ibigay sa isang animal. This is true or this is needed kasi nga lactating. So it is also producing milk. Same goes sa dairy cow natin that is lactating. Mas madami na naman because of the size. So, nasa 90 liters per day. For poultry hen, kung titignan, 0.5 liters per day. For growing pigs, that is 2.5, 2 to 2 to 5 liters per day, depending on the weight. So, dito pa lang sa mga estimates na binigay ko sa inyo, makikita na yung differences when it comes to the water requirement. So again, it is because of a lot of factors on the production stage, on the type, on the specific species, as well as specific na age nung animal na yun. Okay, so yan. And then when it comes to the effect of water deprivation, so if it is 4 to 5% loss, kumbaga yung water sa body mo, you can have restlessness and decreased feed intake. So it is important that to note itong decreased feed intake because um, kung nagde-decrease yung feed intake, meaning kukunti lang yung kinakain ng animal. And if it kukunti lang yung kinakain ng animal, then kukunti lang din yung ini-intake niya na nutrients and it can affect its productivity. So, kailangan na nasa sufficient amount pa rin yung dapat ibigay sa animal when it comes to the water kasi it can affect yung feed intake. So, mayroong direct relationship kung mababa yung water intake, bababa din yung feed intake. Then, if it is 6 to 8% loss na ng water, circulatory failure, metabolic issues na yung magaganap, and then 10 to 15% loss can be fatal. So, meaning mamamatay yung animal. So, makikita na around 4 to 15% loss lang ng water dun sa body ng animal, it can have adverse effect. That's the importance ng water natin. Okay, so again, laging tatandaan, everyday kailangan mong bigyan ng tubig yung inaalagaan mo na animal. So, yon yung water natin. So, kung magkikita doon sa water natin, walang digestion na naganap. Meaning, direct na inaabsorb or direct na kinukuha ng animal since it is a universal solvent, it is needed for a lot of the physiological function, it is directly needed by the animal. So, wala nang digestion, wala nang enzyme na mang-cleave ng hydrogen molecule, mga ganun, wala na. Okay, so yun yung kagandahan ng water. Very simple, walang digestion, walang metabolism, direct na ma-absorb ng animal. Okay? Now we go sa protein natin. Sa protein natin, again, yung sinabi ko noon, it has a carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and it can have sulfur and phosphorus. So, again, yung sinabi ko rin noon, it also have a lot of the functions that are necessary, especially for the growth and repair of muscles ng animal, for the production ng mga animal products nila, and at the same time protein because of the amino acids that is the building block na tulad ng sinabi ko last time, it is needed for the production or synthesis ng mga enzymes, hormones, and antibodies. So aside from that, it is also needed for the transportation and storage of molecules. And in excess, it can be a source of energy. So madami ding function yung ating protein, and it is important basically to take note na it is important for the growth of the animal. Kasi it usually connotes on the muscles ng animals natin. So, sinabi ko din to noon, you have your amino acids. These are the basic structural unit, kumbaga, or building blocks ng mga proteins natin. Ang sinabi ko noon, each amino acids will bond sa isang, because of the peptide bonds, yung nagbaband sa kanila, and then pag madami ng amino acid nakaband with each other, it will fold, and then basically you have your protein. So, sinabi ko din noon ng essential amino acids. So, please take note of that. Again, just to reiterate, if we say essential amino acids or non-essential amino acids, parehas lang na importance to. Important to. Yung um, pagkakaiba lang when it comes to essential kasi, it cannot be synthesized by the body. So meaning, it is essential in a sense na hindi kaya talaga ng body ng isang animal na i-produce tong mga amino acids na to. So kailangan na ibigay mo, it must be provided in the diet of the animal. So yun yung saan galing yung word na essential. Essential in a sense na hindi na produce ng body ng animal. Yung non-essential amino acid kasi, important din sila, pero hindi sila essential because it is produced by the body of the animal in fast enough, in suitable amount that you do not need to provide it in their diet. Meaning hindi mo na ibibigay yung mga non-essential amino acids. Pero again, just to be clear, both of these are important for the production of proteins natin. So, yan yung 10 na essential amino acids natin. So, I think pinamemorize ko noon last time. So, again, you can pause the video and then try to memorize it again. Ito yung mga essential amino acids natin. Then, you have your non-essential amino acids. Again, these are synthesized from the other compounds in the body, meaning na produce talaga ng body ng animal. Okay, so yan. Yan yung protein natin. So now, we go sa digestion ng proteins natin. So, ito yung wala doon sa discussion natin nung in-introduce ko yung mga nutrients. So, like for example, in monogastric, so again, dapat alam na ninyo yung monogastric since you are specializing in non-ruminants. So, you have your pigs or your poultry. Iba kasi yung digestion and absorption or digestion as well as absorption ng protein sa monogastric at saka sa ruminant. So first, let's discuss doon sa monogastric. So when we say monogastric, laging tatandaan yung start ng digestion process ng protein will be on the stomach. Okay? This is where we call it as the gastric phase ng digestion. So, bakit ano ba yung nasa stomach? So, laging tatandaan, yung definition ng isang true stomach, it is glandular in nature, wherein it secretes hydrochloric acid. Okay? So, yan dapat yung function or yan dapat yung makikita dun sa isang true stomach. That is true with the abomasum of ruminants. That is also true with the proventriculus ng mga poultry natin. All of them, including us humans, yung stomach natin will secrete hydrochloric acid. Ngayon, ang hydrochloric acid kasi na yon, it is important to activate what we call the pepsinogen. Okay, it is important para ma-activate yung pepsinogen into our pepsin. So, yan. Yung pepsin kasi, yun yung enzyme that will start breaking down yung protein into polypeptide chains. So, yung structure kasi ng protein, madaming naka-attach na mga amino acids with the peptide bonds and then nafo-fold. Yung gagawin ng pepsin ngayon, i-unfold niya yung protein into its polypeptide chain lang. Naka-chain na lang, hindi na siya naka-fold. Okay? So, yun yung gagawin. In a sense, hindi pa kayang i-absorb ng animal yung polypeptide chain na yun kasi masyado pang mahaba, masyado pang malaki. Pero yun yung start ng digestion. So, again, laging tatandaan, you need hydrochloric acid in the stomach in order to activate yung pepsinogen uh, to pepsin. And yung pepsinogen, it is only activated when the pH is 2 to 3 in value. Kumbaga, acidic dapat. Kaya doon yung function ng ating hydrochloric acid. Okay, so yun, makikita yung connection. Hydrochloric acid, activate the pepsinogen into pepsin. The pepsin will digest the proteins into polypeptides na or convert it kumbaga to polypeptides. Then after nung stomach, alam na natin na yung pupunta ng protein will be on the small intestine. Okay? So, sa small intestine naman, dito yung madami ng enzyme na makikita. Okay? Especially since dito meron ng mga enzymes coming from the pancreas and then meron ding mga enzymes that are released mismo doon sa small intestine. So, ito yung tinatawag na pancreatic and brush border pace. So you have your trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase, carboxypeptidase will further break the polypeptides into its amino acid. So again, makikita yung doon sa stomach, naka-full pa lang na protein, ganyan. And then because of the pepsin, nagiging polypeptide chain siya na mahaba. And then, pagpasok sa small intestine, yung polypeptide chains na yon, ikakat, i-break, i-hydrolyze niya itong mga enzymes na to, yung mga chains that bind yung amino acids together. So, pag na-cut off, kumbaga, wala na yung mga chains na yon, you have your amino acids that can be absorbed by the animal. Okay, so, kung titignan, ito yung kailangan ng mga enzymes. Actually, yung kailangan na enzymes is yung trypsin. Ito. Pero, ma-activate mo lang yung trypsin if meron kang enteropeptidase. Okay? Kasi yung inactive form ng trypsin is yung trypsinogen. So, yung trypsinogen, by the activation ng enteropeptidase, nagiging trypsin. Ngayon, yung trypsin na yung gigising sa mga iba pang mga amino acids natin. So, you have your trypsin, kung makikita yan, trypsin ulit yung gigising, trypsin ulit yung gigising, yan. So, kung makikita, trypsin na dapat yung kailangan na parang enzyme. So, you can view this left side as the inactive form ng mga enzymes and then itong right side will be the active form. So, before it can do its part to cleave or hydrolyze the protein, these inactive forms, itong mga to, should become active. Okay? Para gawin nila yung function nila. And in order for them to become active, you need certain molecules or enzymes that will activate them. In the case ng trypsinogen, it needs the enteropeptidase in order to become trypsin. In the case ng chymotrypsinogen, it needs the trypsin to become chymotrypsin. Same goes sa carboxypeptidases natin. Kailangan ng trypsin para ma-activate into these forms. You have your carboxypeptidase A, carboxypeptidase B, and then you have your aminopeptidases. Yung proelastase natin, kailangan ng trypsin again for elastase. Your procolipase, kailangan ng trypsin for colipase. Okay, so gets yung inactive and active form na tinatawag. So itong active form naman nito, since we're talking about protein digestion, ang overall or ultimate na goal ng mga active enzymes na ito is to cleave. Pag sinabing cleave, ikakat mo yung mga peptide bonds that binds yung amino acids together. Yun yung ginagawa nila. Basically, i-free nila. Yan yung isang peptide bond, ito yung isang amino acid, and then ito yung isang amino acid. So, tatanggalin itong peptide bonds para meron na ka ng amino acids. Okay, so yan. Yan yung protein digestion sa small intestine. So, if I ask or they will ask you kung saan yung main site of protein digestion sa monogastric, yung sagot dyan is small intestine. Pero again, it starts kung if they ask you saan nagsisimula yung protein digestion sa monogastric, sa stomach. Pero yung main site talaga is doon sa small intestine. Okay, so I hope na nagets yung protein digestion. Now, pinaghiwalay ko, anyway, hindi naman kayo ruminant specialization sa ruminant, pero it is also important to discuss yung protein digestion when it comes to ruminants kasi mas complicated kumbaga or iba siya compared sa monogastric. So, dito kasi sa ruminant, again, if you, I know that you are familiar with the structure ng digestive system niya, um, yung protein digestion natin, it happens doon sa rumen. Okay? So, this is done by microbial fermentation. Okay? So, yung microbes mismo, yung nag-breakdown na ng, or yung enzymes that are released by the microbes, those are the ones that will break down the dietary proteins into ammonia, peptides, and amino acids. Okay? Ngayon, it is important to note na hindi pa ito yung i-absorb ng body ng isang ruminant. Okay? Hindi pa ito, itong ammonia, peptides, and amino acid, hindi pa. Ang ginagawa ng microbes kasi, bine-breakdown nila yung protein para sa kanilang survival, para sa kanilang growth. Meaning, ginagamit ito ng mga microbes. So, hindi naman niya kusang binibigay doon sa ruminant yung breakdown niya um, na protein. So, remember, these microbes are still living organisms. So, kailangan pa rin nila ng nutrients in order for them to multiply, in order for them to grow. So, meaning, ginagamit ng mga microbes yung breakdown nila na protein. So, ngayon, ang tanong, ano naman or ano na ngayon yung source of protein ng ating ruminant if ginagamit? If ginagamit ito ng mga microbes. Doon papasok yung what we call as microbial protein. So, yung microbial protein na, yung protein na nandun sa mga microbes na eventually mawawash out kasi yung mga microbes na yan na meron ng protein papunta dun sa abomasum. And then, same goes sa monogastric, yung mga microbial protein na yun na nandun na sa abomasum, since abomasum is the true stomach, doon na mag-start yung protein digestion ulit. Then pupunta sa intestine and then eventually ma-breakdown into amino acids and then eventually ma-absorb ng body ng ruminant. Okay? So, basta laging tatandaan, the microbial fermentation happens in the rumen and they break down, the microbes are the ones that will break down the proteins into amino acids that they will use for themselves and eventually they will have protein. Those microbes with the protein, that's your microbial protein, yun yung ina-absorb or dinadigest na ng ruminant. So, yan yung sinabi ko. Microbial protein is synthesized from this and absorbed in the small intestine. So, the metabolizable protein system accounts for both microbial protein and undegraded feed protein that escapes rumen degradation. So, meron tayong tinatawag kasi na rumen degradable protein, RDP yung tawag doon. Then you also have your rumen undegradable protein or RUP or RUDP yung tawag naman doon. So, Yung Roman degradable protein, as the name implies, yun yung mga proteins that are degraded by the microbes sa rumen. Yung Roman undegradable protein naman, these are the proteins that escapes degradation or digestion sa rumen. And eventually, doon sila sa small intestine madadigest. So, pero both of these will account for the protein um, diet ng or protein na inaabsorb ng katawan ng isang ruminant. Okay? So, yan. Yung, again, if you look into it, yung difference lang ng monogastric at saka ng ruminant when it comes to protein digestion is that merong involvement yung rumen and yung microbes doon sa rumen in the digestion. Okay? Yung problema when it comes to ruminant, I think it's a double-edged sword, kumbaga, is that if itong rumen degradable protein is high quality, meaning mataas yung quality nito, yan, um, it is converted into microbial protein pa rin. So meaning hindi na-maximize ng katawan ng animal na i-absorb itong high quality protein because it is converted into microbial protein, which is baka mas mababa yung quality. Okay? Yun yung disadvantage when it comes to Roman fermentation or microbial fermentation doon when it comes to protein. Another one, pero yung advantage naman nito is that if the Roman degradable protein is low in quality, tapos na-convert into microbial protein na mas mataas yung quality, di mas maganda. Okay? So, yun yung double-edged sword na kumbaga, merong advantage and disadvantage. So, yan yung protein digestion natin. So, when it comes to factors affecting protein quality, you have your amino acid composition. Basically, mas maganda kung yung amino acid composition ng protein is yung mga essential amino acids natin. Aside from that, digestibility. So, may mga anti-nutritional factors like for example, a tannin that will um, anong tawag nito? Parang protect yung protein for sa digestion kaya hindi na digest, hindi na utilize mga ganun. So, mas maganda if digestible yung protein. Bioavailability basically if pwede bang i-absorb, pwede bang ma-digest, pwede bang i-absorb. Heat treatment can cause what we call as Maillard reaction kasi. Yung Maillard reaction, it reduces yung lysine availability. And lysine is one of the essential amino acids. So, those are the factors that affect yung protein quality. Ngayon, I hope na alam na natin yung digestion ng protein natin. Then we go sa carbohydrates. So again, anong sinabi ko noon, carbohydrate is the primary energy source in most animal diets, especially for pigs and poultry. So it constitute around 70 to 80% of typical swine and poultry ration and about 66% of the dry matter in non-leguminous plants. So carbohydrates are basically economically and widely available as energy source natin. So, yun yung sinabi ko. I think diniscuss ko na din why even though siya yung pinakamaliit ng binibigay ng energy compared sa um, protein and lipid natin, ito pa rin yung primary source of energy kasi it's the cheapest and kaya nga economically available and widely available siya as energy source. Sa protein kasi masyadong mahal. Sa lipid naman, it can affect yung feed quality. So, dyan papasok yung rancidity, yung oxidation, pag masyadong mataas yung fat. So, again, na-discuss na natin yan last time. So, ito naman, I think hindi pa natin na-discuss in a manner na carbohydrates are categorized kasi in the number of sugar units and complexity. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, ilan yung carbon doon sa isang, like for example, or sa isang, if it is one sugar unit, um, that's called monosaccharide. Then, you have polysaccharides, oligosaccharides, mga ganon. Okay? So, um, one sugar unit, again, monosaccharide. Pero sa monosaccharide, merong mga subdivisions tayo, depende dun sa carbon molecule na nandun. So if it is 3, then trioses. If it is 5, pentoses. And then if it is 6, these are your primary energy source na papasok dyan si glucose. So yung 6 carbon compound na hexoses yung tawag doon. Pero again, they are only one sugar unit. Yeah, so kung makikita dito sa picture, ito isang sugar unit. Kung titignan yung carbon ring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is what we call as hexoses. Ito, one sugar unit ulit, pero kung titignan yung carbon ring, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is called pentoses. Okay? So yun yung pagkakaiba ng mga subdivisions ng monosaccharides natin. Pero kung titignan, isang sugar unit lang ito, isang sugar unit lang ito. Kaya nga tinawag siyang monosaccharide. Sa oligosaccharides naman, these are carbohydrates that are characterized by the number of um, basically more than one sugar unit. Okay, so kung titignan yung oligosaccharide na raffinose, meron kang isang sugar unit, meron kang isang sugar unit, and then meron kang isang sugar unit. So makikita tatlo na yung naka-attach na sugar unit. So dito papasok yung mga disaccharides natin. Pag sinabing di, dalawa yung sugar unit. Trisaccharides is tatlo, tetra is apat, and then penta is yung 5. Okay? So kung mag-add ka pa ng isang sugar unit dito, that's your tetra, and then kung mag-add ka pa ng isang sugar unit dito, that's your pentasaccharides. So, yung disaccharides or itong oligosaccharides, it is just a combination ng mga monosaccharides that are attached to each other. So, yan yung ano natin. Like for example, disaccharides natin, sucrose na disaccharide, it is only the combination of glucose and fructose. Yung lactose naman, it is the combination ng glucose and galactose. Same goes sa trisaccharides. Like for example, yung raffinose, that's the combination ng glucose, galactose, and fructose. So kung makikita, when it comes to absorption kasi, or when it comes to digestion, usually yung kinakain natin are complex na mga carbohydrates. Ito yung mga, again, ito yung mga madami yung naka-attach. Ito yung mga oligosaccharides natin, polysaccharides natin, starches, madaming sugar unit na naka-attach. So, hindi pa madadigest or hindi pa ma-absorb ng body ng animal. So, remember na yung ina-absorb lang ng body ng animal is basically itong mga monosaccharides natin and some disaccharides. Pero in a sense, sabihin na lang natin monosaccharides yung ina-absorb. Yung pinakamaliit na unit. Okay? Yun yung laging tatandaan when it comes to absorption. Yung na-absorb lang ng body ng animal or even us is yung pinakamaliit na unit lang. Sa protein kanina, that's your amino acid. Sa carbohydrates, that should be your monosaccharides. Okay? So, yeah. So, when it comes to monogastric, when it comes to their digestion, so it will be on the mouth. Again, it will start on the mouth. So, sa swine natin, you have your thiolin enzyme or alpha amylase. So, siya yung basically mag-breakdown ng starch. It will start uh, digesting yung carbohydrates natin. Sa poultry, laging tatandaan walang salivary amylase na magaganap. Wala kasing saliva, kumbaga yung mga poultry natin. Then, papasok yan sa stomach. Sa stomach, again, walang masyado. Di tulad sa protein that doon na mag-start yung protein digestion, sa carbohydrate digestion, limited activity lang yung magaganap sa stomach. That is because of the low pH. Pero again, papasok yan sa small intestine and dito na meron na ulit mga enzymes tulad doon sa protein natin kanina, like for example, pancreatic amylase, brush border enzymes that will um, break down, digest itong mga carbohydrates natin. Okay, so like for example, sucrase, maltase, lactase, these are your enzymes that will break down yung mga carbohydrates natin. Like for example, itong dalawa na to, Again, pag dalawa, this is oligosaccharides na to. So, dalawang sugar unit na naka-attach to each other. You have your fructose and then you have your glucose, kumbaga. This is your disaccharide. And hindi pa siya hindi siya ma-absorb ng body ng animal. So you have your enzyme na sucrase, makikita yung connection. If this is sucrose, yung enzyme that will act upon sucrose will be sucrase. Yung pag fructose or pag maltase naman, ay maltose, yung disaccharide, yung enzyme that will act upon it is maltase. So, magkikita yung connection ng mga enzymes. It is only the name plus ASE doon sa huli. Yun na yung enzyme. So, ito, breakdown niya into glucose and fructose. So, yan yung ano. And then, itong glucose and fructose, laging tatandaan, these are your monosaccharides na and they can be absorbed by the body of the animal. So, yan. When it comes to absorption, active transport, and facilitated diffusion. Yung active transport, basically, para makapasok dun sa cell, kailangan niya ng ano, or para makapasok dun sa bloodstream, kumbaga, from the digestive system to the circulatory system, kailangan niya ng active transport. Yung imagine na lang ninyo yung active transport, yun yung parang merong sasakyan na kukuha doon sa galactose, glucose, and then ihahatid niya doon sa circulatory system. Yung facilitated diffusion, hindi mo na kailangan ng sasakyan, kumbaga, pero meron ka dapat pupuntahan na gate. Meron kang papasukan lang dapat kasi facilitated nga. Merong certain part lang na dapat pasukan ng fructose natin para doon papasok papunta sa circulatory system. Okay? So, yan. Pero again, yung mga makakapasok lang are yung mga smallest units. Then, for the for the ruminants naman natin, we have what we call as microbial fermentation. Ulit. So, nasa rumen na naman tayo. So, sa rumen kasi, it breaks down itong mga carbohydrates natin into what we call as volatile fatty acids. Sino ba yung magbe-breakdown ulit? Yung mga magbe-breakdown ulit is yung mga microbes natin. Kaya importante that you maintain a good condition sa rumen para anaerobic condition sa rumen para ano tong mga microbes natin. Mabuhay itong mga microbes natin kasi sila yung nagsisecrete ng mga enzymes that will digest not only protein but also carbohydrates and even lipids. So, importante talaga itong mga microbes natin. So, in the case of carbohydrate digestion, itong mga microbes natin, they will break down the complex carbohydrates into volatile fatty acids. Itong volatile fatty acids, these are the ones that will absorb and metabolize by the body of the animal into energy. So, you have three, kumbaga, na volatile fatty acids. You have your acetate or acetic fatty acid, propionate or propionate fatty acid, and butyrate or your butyric fatty acids. So pag si acetic acid or acetate, this is the major volatile fatty acid. Laging tatandaan yan. It is used for fat production or fat synthesis. Si propionate naman, sa liver siya magaganap or pupunta siya doon sa liver, wherein it will be converted in the liver in a pathway called gluconeogenic or gluconeogenesis. Then butyrate, it will be converted into ketone bodies uh, that is used in basically fat synthesis or milk fat synthesis. So, basta yung laging tatandaan, yung carbohydrates na yun, it will be converted into volatile fatty acids. The volatile fatty acids, saan ma-absorb? Doon mismo sa rumen na. And pupunta sila doon sa different tissue or organ wherein they will be metabolized in order to create other molecule or other compounds or or ATP or energy. Okay? So, yan yung carbohydrate digestion natin. Ito, pinapakita ko lang dito yung parang, anyway, may feed analysis naman na discussion tayo. Pero, you have your crude fiber kasi. Ito yung parang old na parang method or term na ginagamit to parang compute for the amount ng mga carbohydrate na nandun sa isang feed. So, yung problema kasi nito, it is incomplete and inaccurate for ruminants. Kasi, again, it also includes yung mga cellulose and lignin which are not usually digestible by the ruminant. Doon papasok yung neutral detergent fiber. So, aside from lignin and cellulose, ini-include din niya yung mga cell wall components like hemicellulose. And aside from that, yung neutral detergent fiber, if it is correlated with feed intake. So kung mataas yung neutral detergent fiber, it reduces yung voluntary intake ng isang animal. Then you also have your acid detergent fiber. So it includes yung cellulose and lignin only. So it is correlated with digestibility naman. Pag mataas yung ADF or acid detergent fiber, mababa yung digestibility. So ito I think we have a separate discussion for this. Pero um, yung carbohydrate metabolism kasi it is complicated. So you have what we call as glycolysis, then you have your tricarboxylic acid cycle, and then you have your electron transport chain. It will be on a separate discussion. Pero yung ginagawa dito is that uh, yung glucose na kinain or yung glucose na digest or and na-absorb, it will be your primary energy source. So it will be converted into ATP or adenosine triphosphate via yung glycolysis process and then yung tricarboxylic acid cycle. So itong nakikita sa diagram, that's basically how the metabolism work, and it will be discussed in a separate video or discussion. I hope it will be face-to-face para mas maintindihan ninyo. So, pag masyadong madami yung kinain mo na glucose or na-digest na glucose, it is stored as glycogen. Laging tatandaan yan. Saan na-store sa liver or sa muscle. Or it will be converted to fat. Kaya pag hindi ka nag-exercise and kain ka ng kain ng glucose-rich or carbohydrate na pagkain, if hindi mo na utilize lahat yung mga carbohydrates na yon, it will be converted into glycogen or it will be converted into fat. So tataba ka, kumbaga. Okay, so yan yung ano natin. Anyway, i-discuss natin in separate yan. So, laging tatandaan, in ruminants, VFAs serves as the primary energy source natin. You have your acetic acid, yung butyric acid, and yung propionic acids. These are your volatile fatty acids and they are converted via yung ating um, microbial ferment and they are digested via yung microbial fermentation natin. Okay, so now we go sa fats or lipids na tinatawag. So, yung sinabi ko noon, again, because of the chemical component ng lipids na merong mas mababa, kumbaga na oxygen content compared sa carbohydrates, mas high in energy siya. So, it provides 2.25 times more energy compared sa carbohydrates at saka protein. So, itong mga fats and lipids natin, they are, again, nung sinabi ko noon, composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And because of the lower oxygen content, they are more energy dense compared sa carbohydrates natin. So, it can be a source of energy natin. It can also have a function when it comes to the structure of the cell membrane, especially the phospholipid bilayer natin. And then, aside from that, it is a carrier of fat-soluble vitamins. So, yung fats natin are the sources natin ng mga essential fatty acids. And aside from that, it also improves yung palatability ng mga feeds na ibinibigay natin. Kaya importante pa rin yung fats sa diet formulation And it also influence reproductive efficiency, particularly sa mga high-producing dairy and breeding animals natin. So, when it comes to the type of lipids, I think na-discuss ko na din last time yung saturated and unsaturated fatty acids natin. So, pag sinabing simple lipids, ito yung mga lipids na um, you have basically three fatty acids on it, and then you have your glycerol. Pag may three fatty acids ka and then yung glycerol, that's your triglycerides natin. Then you have your compound lipids. Pag sinabi namang compound lipids, combination of two molecules, kumbaga. So you have yung phospholipids and then glycolipids. Yung mga yun, phospholipids found in cell membranes, glycolipids important in nervous tissue. So makikita na when it comes to compound lipids, meron siyang kasamang ibang molecule or compound, kumbaga. Then when it comes to derived lipids, dito papasok sina sterols and fatty acids. So, sa essential fatty acids kasi, similar to that of the essential amino acids, they cannot be synthesized by the animal. So, it should be, or it must come from their diet. So, you have basically three essential or essential fatty acids. You have your linoleic acid, that's your omega-6, alpha-linolenic acids, that is your omega-3. Kaya nga dun sa mga patalastas advertisement ng mga like for example, Century Tuna, yung mga omega kung kunana, those are your essential fatty acids. And then you have your arachidonic acids. So, ano ba yung function nila? Why they are called essential? So, again, they are called essential because they cannot be synthesized by the body of the animal. So, you need to put them or give them via their diet. So, yung mga fatty acids kasi natin na ito, they maintain cell membrane integrity. They also support reproduction and immune function and then influence inflammation responses. So, when it comes to digestion and absorption, um, sa fats and lipid, it happens basically sa small intestine natin. So, it is the primary site. So, dito papasok yung what we call as bile salts. Okay? Yung bile salts na yan, yan yung mag-emulsify ng fats into micelle. So, you can think of emulsification sort of like yung fat kasi hindi yan readily absorbed by the body or hindi yan mahihirapan i-transport, nahihirapan i-absorb kasi nga fat yan. If you can observe yung isang oil na nilagay mo sa isang water, magsa-separate yan. Okay? So, kailangan muna na i-emulsify yung mga fats na yon. Basically, pag titipunom isuda, and then you create what we call as parang micelle. Yung micelle kasi, it is a structure that forms by the aggregation of mga molecules. So, kung makikita dito sa diagram, um, anong tawag nito? Yung mga micelles natin, it is made up of mga surfactant molecules natin na merong hydrophilic or hydrophilic polar head at saka hydrophobic na non-polar tails. So, in order for the fats natin to be transported for digestion and absorption, pupunta yan doon sa micelle, and then yung ulo ng micelle, which is hydrophilic, meaning it is water-loving, is outside, and then yung hydrophobic niya is nasa loob, which can attract itong mga fats natin. So, pwede nang i-transport ng tubig kasi nga hydrophilic na yung na-expose doon sa tubig. Okay? So, yan yung ano natin, micelle. So, after that, you have your lipase that will hydrolyze triglycerides into monoglycerides and free fatty acids, basically similar to what the enzymes do with the carbohydrates and protein. They will break down itong mga fats natin into their smallest form in order for it to be absorbed. Then the products are absorbed in the jejunum via yung micelles na. So yung monoglyceride na yan at saka itong free fatty acids na to, ito yung parang pupunta or mabubuo doon sa micelle, and yung micelle na yon pwede nang i-transport ng tubig papunta sa jejunum, wherein papasok na sila doon sa um, jejunum, doon sa surface ng jejunum, and then pupunta na sa bloodstream. Okay, so that's your absorption na. So, ay yung laging tatandaan lang, the fat should be emulsified first via yung mga bile salts into micelles, and yung micelles are the ones that will be transported and absorbed by the body of the animal. So, in ruminants naman, um, again, you have your function or you have your rumen that will hydrolyze or digest and basically biohydrogenate yung mga unsaturated fatty acids natin into saturated one. So, it is important to mention itong biohydrogenate kasi kung makikita or ano tawag nito? If natatandaan yung pagkakaiba ng unsaturated fatty acid and saturated fatty acid, when we say unsaturated fatty acids, mayroon kasing carbon molecule doon sa structure ng um, fatty acids natin that are not that is not connected with any hydrogen molecule. Yung ginagawa doon sa Roman kasi, ina-attachan niya ng hydrogen molecule yung mga gaps na walang, yung mga carbon na wala pang hydrogen molecule. So basically, you are converting or the Roman is converting yung mga unsaturated fatty acids natin, which is by the way, nung diniscuss natin is the healthier option into saturated one. So meaning yung lalabas na sa rumen or yung napoproduce na fat sa body ng animal are saturated one. Okay? So, the Roman environment basically limits yung direct use of dietary fat. Kasi kahit anong gawin mo or ano yung ibibigay mo sa na fat, it will still be converted into saturated fatty acid. So, yung excess fat na nandun sa ruminant can suppress fiber digestion and be toxic to the microbes. That is also why nalilimit yung binibigay mo na fats. So, aside from that, yung absorption process, it is the same with that of monogastric. It will happen in the small intestine after niya pumunta doon sa bumasok. Okay, so yan. Same lang na ma-emulsify dapat yung fat into micelles, and then the micelles will be the one that will be transported into the jejunum and it will be absorbed into the circulatory system or sa bloodstream. So, ayan. Then, you have vitamins. So, vitamins are organic compounds that that are required in minute amounts but essential for regulating metabolism, enzyme cofactor functions, tissue maintenance, growth, reproduction, and immunity. Basically, si vitamins naman yung ano natin. Um, Kabaliktaran ng water when it comes to the amount. Yung sa water, in liters yung pinag-uusapan, sa vitamins, konti lang. Pero again, they are essential pa rin. Okay? Vitamins, they do not provide energy, but without them, yung mga energy-yielding nutrients, like for example, carbohydrates, fat, protein, cannot be properly utilized. So meaning, kailangan nila or kailangan natin ng vitamins in order to properly utilize, maximize yung nutrients na binibigay ng mga carbohydrates, yung mga proteins and fats natin. So, ito, hindi ko na siya i-discuss in detail, but again, you have your fat-soluble vitamins and you have your water-soluble vitamins. So, fat-soluble vitamins, you have your A, D, E, and K. Your water-soluble vitamins, you have your B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folate, pantothenic acids, biotin, and vitamin C. Then, ito yung mga functions nila. I think pinakita ko na ito nung last time na nag-face-to-face tayo. And then, ito yung mga functions ng vitamins natin, B vitamins natin. And ito naman yung factors that will affect yung vitamin requirements natin. Like for example, species and age, stress and disease condition, presence of antagonists or inhibitors, feed processing, and storage conditions. And then minerals. So kung makikita for vitamins as well as minerals, wala nang digestion na magaganap. Because they are only needed in minute amount, meaning maliliit na to. So directly na na-absorb na. So minerals are kabaliktaran when it comes to pag sa vitamins that is organic, ito naman inorganic. So, pero again, it is also required for structural, physiological, biochemical, and catalytic functions. So they do not provide energy, but they are essential for, like for example, sa bone and energy development, enzyme function and cofactor activity, electrolyte balance and osmoregulation, as well as oxygen transport and acid-base balance. So you have what we call as macro minerals and micro minerals, and they are basically pag sinabing macro, larger, or micro trace minerals. So ito yung we are talking about the amount needed depending on the species, the age, and the physiological stage. So ito naman yung mga macro minerals natin. You have your calcium, phosphorus, magnesium. You also have your potassium, sodium, chloride, and sulfur. And ito naman yung mga micro minerals natin or what we call as trace elements. So ito yung mga key functions and deficiency symptoms and major sources natin. So please be familiar with it. Like for example, ano ba yung function ng ating calcium and phosphorus, magnesium, mga ganun. So, yeah, naka-upload naman sa MBLA for you to memorize them. Same goes sa mga microminerals natin. So, yung mga factors that will affect naman yung mineral bioavailability, basically phytate. Yung phytate kasi, it binds with yung phosphorus and zinc. So, meaning, pag nakabind na siya sa phosphorus and zinc, hindi na siya na-absorb. Nare-reduce yung absorption niya. Yung calcium excess naman, kung masyado madaming calcium, it will interfere with the absorption ng zinc, ng magnesium, and phosphorus. Molybdenum naman, kung masyadong marami, can interfere with the um, uh, copper absorption natin. And then for vitamin D, it enhances yung calcium and phosphorus absorption natin. So kung makikita, iba't ibang mineral will also have different parang effect, especially when it comes to their amount doon sa pag-absorb ng different na iba't ibang minerals din. Okay, so yan, again, for vitamins and minerals, since they are needed in small amounts only, hindi na siya kailangan i-digest or malilit na yung molecule in such a way na pwede nang i-absorb directly. Okay, so those are your classes of nutrients. So, if merong question, I do hope na you can feel free to message me sa Facebook or any other social media platforms, and I will upload this doon sa MVLE and expect a quiz on it. Thank you for listening.